when you were showing your tools and stuff, what made you I'm assuming being that you grew up around your grandpa doing woodworking, what made you go the route of old tools like that? I think they're cool, but
Yeah.
instead of going with more modernized, the newer stuff out on the market, what made you go that route with those bigger old machines like that?
Yeah. Are you talking about like the old machinery?
Yeah, the old machinery.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. So I'm a bit of an old soul kind of guy. As far as I mean, I do like the power tool that does the most work, the table saw. I do have a saw stop, and I wouldn't trade that for like a really. Maybe someday I would get an additional cool old table saw with like a sliding table, but I really like the technology of that. Especially that sensing technology that would stop the blade if I
Right.
got stupid.
Well, you got your
And
dad.
yeah, I do got a little bit of him in me, so there's a huge possibility it could just
It's in the genes, man.
I could get a little tick and just run my hand right through it.
I call that the keep your digits technology.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm a big fan of like, just cool old stuff. And one of my very first successful projects was like this traditional workbench that that I'm at right now, and then there's one behind me. Traditional like work holding down pieces of wood that you're going to plane or cut or do whatever. This old workbench with just its dog holes in it and things like a hold fast, which is just a bent piece of metal.
Yeah.
Do an absolutely. I don't think any of the suction stuff out there, any of those T-tracks, any of that stuff does a more efficient and better job of like holding your work down quickly and efficiently for you than like these old workbenches with that old technology. And I don't think there's any new modern machines, I know for a fact, that are built as good as some of those old, giant chunks of iron.
Yeah.
So when you can find them that, they haven't been destroyed, like they're going to last another 100 years. So there's a huge cool factor. I just think they're really cool. And I have a handful of, newer stuff, but, I'm not like somebody I'm also not a diehard person. Like some people are like really into a certain thing. I like what I think's cool, but I don't go too crazy down rabbit holes. Like all my hand planes behind me, I don't care if they're like a Type 11 or Type 12 or a Stanley Bedrock or any of this kind of stuff. I find like a good one that works really well. I tune it up and I can use it as good as most people out there. I use them all the time. I'm pretty good with them, and I don't like get kind of too caught up in one thing or the other. I'm a huge fan of this side. Our American Western style planes, but I'm a huge fan of Japanese hand saws. And so I just gravitate like what I use. That's what I like and use, and I don't just kind of like go all in on one thing. Same with using power tools and hand tools. I really take kind of pride in the craftsmanship of like finishing and cutting my joinery by hand. So like when I build a project, all my mortise and tenons and dovetails, I like cutting those by hand, and I like just the work of it, and I like the kind of sense of fulfillment and reward that like I did that part by hand. But I have no desire to cut or rip my boards down by hand and plane them all dimensional. So I use like my power tools for roughing work and a lot of that like monotonous, super time consuming stuff. And I think it's important that a lot of people practice their craftsmanship and finish stuff by hand. I'm not like a big fan of like dominoes and stuff. I'm sure some of you guys have it. Don't take offense, but I think people should be cutting mortise and tenons rather than using dominoes. And I know like production shops and stuff. Obviously, if you're making a living, like having to turn stuff out, that's one thing. But yeah, don't be afraid of like I try to encourage people, don't be afraid to start use some of those hand tools. You'll
Yeah,
get better a lot quicker than you think.
yeah.
Right.
I recently, I one thing that I want to try to get into more is hand tool work, and I recently started messing with one. It's nothing, you know, just a cheapo, but I really enjoyed using the hand plane. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
I'm more of a, I guess, want to get the stuff done quicker. So I
hmm,
got the more modernized tools, and
yeah,
I don't know if that some people may call it cheating, but no, it's pretty cool when you start messing with those things. I don't know
yeah,
a whole lot about them. Just something that I was never attracted to, but now as I'm getting older,
yeah.
it's
It's,
pretty cool to mess with. It's fun.
it's kind of
And
like
you
a
know
golf.
what?
First time you hit a golf ball good, and the first time
You
you
know,
get a hand plane to make a good
yeah.
shaving, you're like,
Oh
ooh,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
want
and
some
that's
more
the
of
kind of
that.
the hard part for a lot of people getting into hand tool stuff. If they just, especially hand plane, plane can be a very fickle tool. There's a lot of little things that can just be a little bit off to make it horrible to work on, and the unbeknownst to user might have a piece of wood that's not a very friendly piece of wood to be, especially starting on, and they can get turned off really well or really quickly that way. And and another thing, like a lot of people think that hand tools are a lot slower than power tools, but like I think a lot of people would be surprised if that once you become kind of proficient with hand tools, because most of us when we're building a piece of furniture, it's like a one-off piece. We're not like batching out a whole bunch of stuff where power tools really shine. But if you're just doing these one-off things and these tasks, by the time you bust out your jigs and set your saws and set your things and all this kind of stuff, you could have probably really easily or just as quickly cut that out with whatever hand tool. And uh, I actually got some interesting. I just got a couple text messages today from one of the students that came out to my class. This guy named Josh, the timber framing class. He's like, since I've been back, because he's a carpenter. He's like, since I've been back, I've been like, I actually got a couple hand planes, tuned them up, block plane, and he's like carrying it in his bags, and then he also got a folding Japanese ryoba saw, and he's like, I keep busting out these hand tools a lot more after taking your class, and he's like, the old timers on the job sites are like loving it, and it's actually like a lot faster in a lot of cases than going and getting like a certain tool, and so yeah, I I think everybody should be a proficient hybrid woodworker.
You, you know whether I was
Have those
doing
hand tools cool because it'll help you for sure.
whether I was doing it right or not, it felt like I had more control. As to a power tool, you can easily go past that point
Oh yeah,
of
yeah,
no return. It
yep.
felt, and I really don't know what I'm doing, just what I've seen. But I got in there and I sharpened the blade real good. And when I first did that first run of it, man, to get that curl shaving just so fine, I was
Mhm.
like, whoa, uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might know. I
Hey, well,
think don't know if I know what I'm doing, but it sure seemed like what everybody's putting out there on video. It's like, huh,
yeah.
pretty cool.
There's
Yeah.
not a whole lot more satisfying than like getting a nice shaving with the hand plane. That's for sure.
Yeah.